The day should have ended hours ago, but Mara was still sitting at her desk. Not because she had work to finish, but because leaving meant deciding something. The office floor had thinned out slowly, co-workers grabbing bags, chairs rolling back, quiet goodnights drifting through the air. Now, only a handful of lights remained. Julian's office was still illuminated. She hadn't looked toward it in 15 minutes, and that was progress. Her phone buzzed softly on the desk. Her pulse immediately betrayed her. She didn't need to look to know who it was. Still, she did. "Are you still here?" Mara stared at the message longer than necessary. Her fingers hovered over the screen, and then she typed, "Yes." The reply came almost instantly. "Me too." Her chest tightened. Another message appeared. "Do you want to walk out together?" Her heart thudded harder. Walk out together. Two very normal words that suddenly felt like stepping off a cliff. She typed slowly. That's probably a bad idea. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. You're probably right. Her shoulders loosened slightly. Then another message arrived. But I'm still going to the elevator in 2 minutes. Mara stared at the screen. Her breath thinned. He wasn't asking. He was leaving the door open. Her phone dimmed in her hand. For a moment, she stayed frozen in her chair. And then, she stood. The hallway outside the office was quiet. Too quiet. Mara walked toward the elevator slowly, her heels softer on the carpet than they had any right to be. When she reached the corner, Julian was already there, leaning casually against the wall beside the elevator, like he'd been there the entire time, waiting. He straightened slightly when he saw her, not surprised, not smug, just aware. "You stayed," he said. Mara folded her arms lightly. "You said 2 minutes. That wasn't much time. You're lucky I was already standing up." His mouth curved faintly. The elevator dinged. They stepped inside together. The doors closed with a quiet slide. The small space immediately felt too close. Julian stood beside her, not touching, not crowding, but his presence filled the air anyway. Mara stared straight ahead. "So," she said finally, "this is normal?" Julian glanced at her. "Normal?" 2 co-workers leaving the office at the same time. His voice was calm. "Yes." Mara exhaled lightly. "Then why does it feel like we're doing something illegal?" Julian's gaze dropped briefly to her mouth. "Because we might be." Her breath hitched. The elevator descended slowly, floor numbers blinking downward like a countdown. Neither of them spoke, but the silence wasn't empty. It was charged. At the lobby, the doors opened. Evening air drifted through the building entrance, cooler now, softer than the harsh brightness of the morning. They stepped outside. The city had shifted into its after-work rhythm. Traffic murmuring, street lights flickering awake, people moving with tired purpose. Mara wrapped her blazer slightly tighter around herself. "You parked nearby?" Julian asked. 2 blocks. "Same." They started walking, side by side, close enough that their arms occasionally brushed, sending small electric shocks through Mara's nerves. She noticed it. She was certain he did too. "You've been quiet today," Julian said. Mara let out a small breath. "I've been working." "That's not what I meant." She glanced at him. "What do you mean?" Julian kept his eyes forward. "I meant you've been careful." Mara laughed softly. "You say that like it's a bad thing." "It's not." "Good." "But it's different," he added. She looked at him again. "Different how?" Julian finally met her gaze. "Yesterday you were trying not to feel anything." Her pulse quickened. "And today, she asked. His voice dropped slightly. Today you already know you do. Her breath caught. That's a dangerous observation, she said quietly. Julian's mouth tilted faintly. Accurate, though. They reached the corner. The city light glowed warm against the pavement. Mara stopped walking. Julian did too. For a moment they just stood there. Two professionals in work clothes. Two people pretending they weren't standing in the middle of something much bigger than either of them had planned. You talked to her again today? Mara asked. Julian's expression shifted slightly. Yes. And? He hesitated. Not tonight. Her stomach dropped. Not tonight what? Not tonight for that conversation. Mara nodded slowly. That makes sense. Julian studied her face. You sound disappointed. I sound realistic. You sound like you think I'm going to change my mind. She lifted one shoulder slightly. People do that. Julian stepped closer, not aggressively, just enough that the space between them shrank. I'm not changing my mind, he said quietly. Mara's pulse jumped. You shouldn't say things like that in the middle of the sidewalk. Why? Because it makes this feel real. Julian's eyes held hers. It is real. The words hung between them. Mara swallowed. The city noise around them faded slightly. Distant engines, footsteps, murmured conversations from strangers walking past. But the space between them felt like its own gravity. You're very calm about this, she said. Julian's expression shifted. I'm not calm. You look calm. That's practice. Mara's mouth curved faintly. That's slightly terrifying. Probably. He watched her carefully. You're thinking about the stairwell again, he said. Her breath caught. How do you know that? Julian's voice softened. Because I am too. Heat rose in her chest. That's not helpful. No. The silence stretched. Mara glanced down the street toward her parking garage, then back at him. You should go home, she said quietly. Julian didn't move. So should you. She nodded, but neither of them stepped away. Julian finally spoke again. Tell me something honestly. Depends what it is. His voice lowered slightly. If I hadn't stopped last night, would you have? Her heart stumbled. The question landed deeper than she expected. She looked away briefly, considering, and then back at him. I don't know. Julian studied her expression carefully. That's honest. It's the best I've got. He exhaled slowly. Mine would be the same. Another beat of silence passed. Then Mara said softly, This is going to end badly. Julian's mouth curved faintly. Probably. That doesn't worry you? It should. And? He looked at her like she was the only thing in the street worth noticing. It doesn't. Her breath caught again. Julian. His name sounded different in the open air. Less secret, more dangerous. He stepped slightly closer again. Now the distance between them was barely a breath. People walked past on the sidewalk, oblivious. Tell me something, he said quietly. What? Why didn't you leave when I texted you? Her answer came too quickly. You know why. I want to hear you say it. Mara's pulse raced. You're enjoying this, she accused softly. Julian shook his head. No, he said. I'm trying to understand it. Her chest rose and fell slowly. Fine, she said. Julian waited. She met his gaze directly. I stayed because I wanted to see you. The honesty hit the air like a spark. Julian's breath shifted. "You shouldn't have said that," he murmured. "Probably not." The tension between them tightened. His hand lifted slightly, instinctively, before he stopped himself. That restraint again. Mara noticed. "You do that a lot," she said quietly. "Do what?" "Stop yourself." Julian's eyes softened slightly. "That's the only reason we're still standing here." Her breath trembled faintly. "And if you didn't?" His voice dropped again. "Then I'd kiss you again." The confession landed hard. The world around them continued moving. Traffic lights changing, strangers passing, but the moment between them felt frozen. Mara's voice barely rose above the evening air. "You can't." Julian nodded once. "I know, but I want to." "Yes." The honesty was relentless. Mara's pulse pounded in her ears. For a moment, she thought he might actually do it. Instead, Julian stepped back. Just one step, but it broke the gravity between them. "You should go," he said quietly. Mara swallowed. "Yes." She turned toward the garage and then paused. She looked back. Julian was just standing under the streetlight, watching her. "Julian," she said softly. "Yes." "This is getting harder." His voice carried across the distance. "I told you it would." She held his gaze a moment longer, then turned and walked away. But halfway down the block, her phone buzzed again. She already knew. She opened the message. "I almost did it." Her heart skipped. She typed back slowly. "Did what?" The reply came quickly. "Kiss you again." Mara stopped walking. The city moved around her, her pulse still humming. She looked back down the street. Julian was still standing there, watching, waiting. Her phone buzzed again. This is going to get complicated. Mara stared at the message and then typed one word. "Yes." Across the block, Julian's phone lit up in his hand, and for the first time since the stairwell, neither of them pretended anymore.